Yo, 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 what is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown, episode 547. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
Sup, people? How's it going?
Brett Murdoch.
What up, party people?
And Richard Bailey Jr.
What's up, everybody?
All right, guys, we're back with another one. A couple of people are missing. Adam is currently at a Def Leppard concert. He is high and dry, and that ain't no fooling, you know? And he's also sending us pictures, photographs, if you will. What's up, Manny? You're muted.
I don't want his photograph.
You don't want his photograph. Good stuff, man. Chris said some parent-teacher conference stuff going on. And Carlos will join us later. He did admit that.
It's school time, man. At like the kids start at the end of August. Right at the end of August now.
And the thing is, like, this is Olivia's first time in school, I believe.
Yes, this is. So
crazy.
This is a big.
It's crazy enough she's old enough to be in school.
Yeah, right.
5 years old, man. She was a pandemic child.
Yep.
She was a pandemic child. So she, 5 years old. That's when you start kindergarten. So you grow so fast.
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, 5 years, man. We got to tell a sketch that. Remember his surprise? What? He got a kid?
He got a kid?
He got a kid? He says, we're like, yeah, pandemic baby, man. It's crazy. And Brian, we don't know what's going on with Brian. So who knows? Maybe he'll show up, maybe he won't. Anyway, so we got another cool show for you. I wouldn't say megatons happened, but one thing did kind of happen that was almost under the radar, but then people caught it. It's like, oh, okay, this is interesting. I hate to say this, but I think the console war is over, people. You put down your controllers. Put down your controllers, go back to your families, go back to your homelands. The shit is done. Officially. So we had a new trailer.
I'm gonna guess Xbox One, right? He said sarcastically.
Yes, he did. Well, ironically, and I'll get to this later, because I talked about this on Twitter. Everybody was like, oh, I guess Nintendo won. Oh, man. So, and Brad, I don't know if you saw the latest Helldivers 2 trailer. They're teasing a crossover with Halo ODST, right? Which you would expect, like, oh yeah, a little Halo thing for Xbox, but that same content will also be on PlayStation. So I'm like, guys, that's it. It's over. They've made peace. It's done. You're gonna have Halo, on your PlayStation. You're already gonna have Gears of War, and you have Forza. That's it. Very interesting stuff, and obviously, people on Twitter were not happy about this. Naturally,
exclusives has ended.
Yeah. So yeah, what's your take on this, Brett?
Oh, but I mean, I think the age of exclusives has been coming to an end for a while. Like, as much as it was kind of ridiculous to see a lot of the Sony fanboys freak out about their games coming to PC years later, it was the first cracks in the dam that all of this was just going to come crashing down. And there's just more money in it for Microsoft. I think we kind of created our own monster here and a bit of a thing. Like there's more money for Microsoft not having exclusives and just trying to be ambiguous and be a publisher. And in a way I say that's our fault because like Sony just been trouncing them for so long that like what other option was there? Like we haven't had a healthy competition to Sony in a while.
Yeah, and remember,
probably is. Yep.
Oh no, I was going to say. Remember, this news comes in addition to what we talked about last week, where Sony is like, yeah, we're willing to put our games on other platforms. So you have that news combined with this, it's over, guys. And to answer your question, Brett, I actually think the console war ended in October, not October. It was July of 2000. 13, when Xbox One was revealed, TV, sports. That's what killed the console war. May 2013. Yeah, that was it. After that, Xbox was done. Never recovered from that.
Yeah, no. That single, oh my god, that single showcase was the most damning brand damage done in like 45 minutes ever.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, there's Carlos. Yeah, no, that. So So to me, the console war has been over, but now it's like really over because now PlayStation's like, yeah, we're willing to have some of our games there. Very interesting stuff indeed. Carlos, what's going on, brother?
Yo, what's going on?
Yeah, man. Just talk about Helldivers 2 having Halo content, and obviously this content will also be on PlayStation. So I think the console war is over, man. What do you think?
I think all that's left is recreate the Michael Jackson "Beat It" video and start dancing with each other.
That's it, man. But
yeah, I mean,
yeah, go ahead, bro. Because I want to make a joke about Japanese soldiers on an island for 40 years, not realizing the war is over.
Nah, these dudes are being like, nah, it's not over yet.
Yeah,
you ain't changing my mind. Yeah, it's Sony and Microsoft. Every generation has to find a different source of revenue to make from all this stuff. And with Sony, it's like, well, what's the best thing we can do without compromising, sort of, or quote unquote leave the fanboys happy to an extent. And it's like this little kind of toe dip with the service games being third party, and not the Spider-Mans and the God of Wars, which apparently it seems like those might not be making the jump, but I don't know if it's just rumors or hearsay.
Yeah,
which will be interesting. But with Microsoft, it's the other way around. They're trying to make as much money as they can with everything, and they've already started with some of their biggest franchises. They started with Forza. And Gears is going to make the leap, and it's just about time Halo, eventually will make it after that. So, yeah, it's the console war is essentially, yeah, like you mentioned, it's been over. Microsoft went a different route. They're doing the Game Pass route, which is a different paradigm to what console wars used to be. Sony is keeping the traditional method. I mean, Nintendo, it's kind of a competitor, but since the Switch, they've really been doing their own thing.
Yeah, pretty much. But again, you gotta, take into consideration the news we talked about last week, where Sony is open to putting their games on other platforms. They combine these two. I'm like, that's it, guys. That's it. Go home. Pick up your controllers and go home.
Let's all hold hands and start singing.
Kumbaya,
Another kumbaya.
Yeah. So, Rich, are you upset about this, man? Or are you going to go to the grave of past console warriors to weep?
Oh, no, but I definitely will be laughing at all the people that are upset. No. So we already knew the console war was over a long time ago. I will say this. I did not know that they confirmed this Halo stuff is also coming to Helldivers on PlayStation 5, so that is this is coming in hot for me because I missed that part of the story. So
yeah, no,
very
yeah, that's
interesting.
official, yeah.
So I will say, not entirely surprised. Like we know, Microsoft, yes, they are in a position where they need to make as much money as possible because we have seen that the console has not been selling according to the numbers that have came out about the actual hardware being down. So yeah, they need to really focus on the software. So I'm not surprised by that. But I do find it funny that people were mad about this, though, because it's like, come on, guys. We know Gears of War is coming to PlayStation 5 later this month. So what is the problem?
Yeah, and again, it's not, we said this before when Xbox games started coming. When PlayStation games started coming to PC, we're like, they're not going to take your games away, right? You can still play them on your PlayStation. You're good. But again, people just want that exclusivity, Very important to them.
It's like if you think about it, it's like two countries going at war and they're exchanging different things, between each other. It's like, oh, we'll give you the Helldivers, you get the gears,
Prisoner
It's
exchange.
yeah, it's a pact of peace. We're trying to get there, but I mean, you're still gonna get those people. And you made the joke, Tony, about the World War II veterans.
Yeah, man, they're not going to give up.
Kept fighting. They're not going to give up. There's definitely going to be a contingency of people that are not going to give up. Because what else do they have to do if this doesn't exist?
Yeah.
Well, let me add one comment on to what Carlos said. Yes, there are people that will not give up. There will also be people that are delusional when they will look at what Xbox is doing and say, yes, Xbox won, because now PlayStation needs their games. So, yeah, we have to also acknowledge that, because I've seen a lot of people making videos saying, oh, yeah, Xbox, they're definitely on top because now PlayStation has no games and they need Xbox games. So, yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on out here. There's some very crazy individuals, I would say.
Yeah. But here's the thing. It's like, because we talked about this before, how much games cost and development time and all that. Like, it kind of makes sense that these companies want to start like expanding their horizons to other platforms. And it's not like Sony and Microsoft don't already work with each other. Sony uses Azure, cloud shit. Obviously, Xbox uses PlayStation, not PlayStation, but Sony Blu-rays, for their physical discs. So there's been collaboration already. But now they're really going ham. Obviously, I still don't think we're going to see like God of War on Xbox anytime soon. But you are seeing God of War on PC. So that there's something right there, And I still wouldn't be surprised. I mean, look, you have Helldivers there on Xbox. I wouldn't be surprised if like the live service games start going there, or maybe even smaller shit like Returnal, stuff like that. I could see on Xbox.
I think it's going to be like Phil said on when it came to the Xbox, games coming over. I think it's going to be a case by case basis.
Oh, case by case basis.
I think it'll be situations like, well, they'll keep things on there for a pretty good amount of time, and then maybe evaluate what things might work. I think Helldivers is most definitely one of those games that works for the Xbox community. That's right up their alley. A shooter, I think that works for them. But I think maybe some other games those might take a little bit longer. If Spider-Man does come over, that would definitely be a big get for Microsoft, at least on the Xbox. But at the same time, it's like I think they're just going to like what you said. It's going to be things that are like service games and things that are the right fit. I don't know if here's the thing about when it comes to is putting a God of War on an Xbox going to make any sort of difference? I don't think so. I don't think it's going to make anything. Everybody who's bought God of War has already bought it because it's on the top PlayStation. But something that feels like something that might actually attract the Xbox audience, those guys, I think those will be the ones that'll come over. Maybe not something like a Last of Us, but maybe something like a Spider-Man. But who knows?
Yeah. Because again, and I've said this many times, if Microsoft just completely gets rid of the Xbox division tomorrow, won't even hurt them. The company will be just fine. PlayStation, if Sony fucks with PlayStation, if PlayStation stops being profitable, the company's fucking done. Sony Pictures not going to prop it up. So they need to be very careful about what games they put on other platforms. And again, what I've been hearing is that big stuff, even like Spider-Man, they're like, no, that's staying here because they really don't want to fuck things up. But at the same time, they want to make money. They want to make money too. So they have to find that balance.
Again, I think it'll be the case I think you'll definitely see more Xbox exclusives on the PlayStation than you'll actually see PlayStation games on the Xbox.
Yeah. So for fun, I want to read my tweet here and some of the replies. Actually, a big tweet. It's like 100,000 views, which is pretty big. So this is what I tweet out. The console war is over. You can all put down your controllers peacefully and return to your homelands. Your fight is over, soldiers. You're just having fun with it. So one of the first comments I got here was, they remind me of the Japanese soldiers that wouldn't give up their positions for like 30 years after World War II ended. Time to go home and just play games. No, Tony, get your pitchfork, son. We're not done yet. Hold the line. So you're saying we could just enjoy games on our platforms of choice again? Another guy here, been over for quite a while. Most of us have gone over to greener pastures like PC. Damn. I'm trying to find the salty ones because most people are here just like laughing. I'm like, yeah, this is funny. Let's see here, because I know some people are like, oh, we gamers lost, corporations won. You know, like they were very mad, but I'm not seeing too much of this stuff here. Here we go. Who won? Microsoft won. Sony won. Microsoft is releasing their games on PlayStation. Sony is releasing their games on Xbox. None of them won. Either there's no winner or the real winner is Nintendo, since it still has exclusives, or PC despite not being a console. I saw a lot of people like Nintendo won, Nintendo won, Nintendo won. What do you guys think about that? I'm like, they weren't even fighting that, bro. They were like doing their own thing. Then somebody posts a picture of that Japanese soldier. Oh, man. Dude, make it, what's he saying? I think PlayStation will mainly focus on second-party content where they will stay as the publisher. So instead of Death Stranding 2 being published by 505 or whoever did the PC and Xbox versions, it'll open with PlayStation Studios logo. Yeah. And Otaku Man, what's going on, brother? He says gamers won. So yeah, I think it's over, guys. Go home. Of course, he's some asshole here. Oh, it's 80 million versus 30 million. Because he thinks I'm a bot, Hilarious.
Uh-oh.
Another guy, what the fuck are you talking about? Pay attention to the news, bro. All right, let's move on here. Speaking about Xbox. Now, Brett, remember I promised you I'm going to give you something contentious, so here you go. Apparently, a new study has come out that says that most Xbox Game Pass players are basically just samplers. They just test the games here and there, and they don't actually finish them. So I'll read this a little bit, but what do you think about that? Because you're kind of like that. You mainly dabble in the games, right? Mr. Murdoch, if you're there. Uh-oh. All right, he may come back. Anyway, so I'll read this. This is from what website is this? Clauso. I never heard this website, but they're linking to the correct source here. When Phil Spencer took to the stage a few years ago to reveal Xbox Game Pass, many hailed it as the revolution, Netflix, the games, all that shit. Fast forward to 2025, and Game Pass is causing more harm than good. Uh-oh. The service was supposed to change the way we play games, but it seems like it did nothing of the sort. According to a new study by industry analytics from Newzoo, the service might be changing player habits, and it could actually be cannibalizing game sales. Whoa. Speaking to the Australian Interactive Games and Entertainment Associations, this company's director said this. Something we've noticed, and we're a bit surprised, despite all the efforts done by Microsoft with Game Pass, the acquisition of many studios, and the release of very high-quality games in Game Pass, we struggle to find significant different behavior compared to players on PlayStation, okay? So we're a bit surprised that there was not a visible Game Pass effect on the behavior of gamers. There is so much offering in Game Pass that if you're not getting hooked on the game very quickly, you just go on to the next one, and you try another one until you find where you do get hooked. What we see clearly is a cannibalization of the sales of AAA premium games on Xbox through Game Pass. You do get a lot of players coming in and trying your game on Game Pass, albeit much more in a sampling way compared to actual players who spent $50 on your game. They are more likely to play longer. Yeah, that makes sense. If you pay top money for your game, you're going to actually play it, So this doesn't surprise me at all, Like we've talked about this before. I really want Brett's thoughts on this one, because it does seem to me like, if you are just paying like $15 or whatever, you're not going to value a game more than you would if you buy it individually, Go ahead. Brett, are you back?
Yeah.
There you are. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on this?
Sorry, I keep having muted for these guys.
Shout out to Brett's dog. Yeah, All right, so he's muted for now. Man, you could jump in because you and I have talked about this and we kind of agree. You know.
Yeah, I definitely think that it does foster a sort of thing where people don't make a decision initially. It's just like, hey, look, keep rolling. It's like the equivalent of like going onto Netflix and just trying to find something to watch, and you just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. So it's like you're just sort of paying for the privilege to scroll through things and maybe watch 2 seconds of something and not be impressed and then move on. It's definitely a different animal, a different type of way of maybe here's the thing, like with that sort of with the way those things are now, like people tend to react to these things now. Does that mean that it's going to also change the way games are going to be weighted, where things are get really crazy so that they can get your attention right away, and then it sort of peters off toward the end because they know it's toward the end?
Yeah. Go ahead, Carlos.
Yeah. This is an interesting question because, especially for us, because we, if we look at it from our younger self lens, we would love Game Pass.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if you take us back 20 years, 20, 30 years, it's like, man, if we can play all these games, it's like Blockbuster in your house. So in that sense, we would go crazy over this in our younger days. But I wonder for the younger generations how that applies, because kids these days are just built different than how we were built.
They don't play games like we used to,
Yeah, I wonder how that relationship is with video games. I mean, if that formula was brought to us, 30 years ago in a form of a Genesis or a Super Nintendo.
Well, there was a Sega channel, just throwing that out there. Brett
I had that.
Yeah. Brett had that shit. Brett, yeah, man, you were there for the original Game Pass.
Bro, I think that's one of the reasons that I like Game Pass. So I was like, yeah, like I had this when I was a kid, and they took it away from me, and I was pissed for like decades.
Yeah, so I wonder how, because we know for us, we have that type of relationship with games, especially back in our primes when we used to play games the most. But for the younger generations, I wonder how they digest games, especially when you have all those games available to them. That's just something that I have no clue.
Yeah, I'm not sure. All right, Brett, I think you're free to talk now, so I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I am. I kind of lost the thread in the bit of the conversation, so kind of remind me of the question.
Oh yeah, no, the basic gist is basically a new study found out that for the most part, not universally, but generally speaking, most Xbox Game Pass subscribers kind of sample games, and they've also found that people who buy games at like $50, $60 actually value them more, will play them longer than an Xbox Game Pass subscriber who just kind of samples stuff and then moves on to the next thing.
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, I think to a certain extent you have sunk cost fallacy, which is definitely an undeniable part of that. We've all been there. I sunk my good money into this game. I'm going to get every good cent out of it. The other thing that I've noted personally about Game Pass is it lowers the barrier to entry, which does kind of encourage that sampling behavior. But I don't think it's necessarily made me play less. It's just that I'll be honest, like we've all been to that place where we bought a mid game. We're like, I just spent a bunch of money on this, so I'm gonna fucking play this thing. Yeah, I'm gonna beat this game. And it wasn't because the game was good or you'd rather play that game. Like it was just like, oh shit, well, if I would have known, I would have probably bought the other game, but here I am now. So, it is what it is. So I think that's why I do also like kind of like Steam's 2-hour refund kind of thing. Like you can get an hour and a half into a game and be like, this is dog shit, and just get a refund for it. So I personally found myself playing more games with Game Pass. And as much as I hate to say it, because I was like, I wanted to get off Game Pass, like I just put it back on because like I was like, I'm gonna play some Elden Ring because Night Rain got me back on the Elden Ring kick, and then my girlfriend wanted to play some Elden Ring, so I was like, all right, cool. So went back and I was like, well, shit, like half the games that I want to buy are on here. Like even just taking a couple months off, I'm like, shit, like Expedition 33 is on here. And like I forget what there's another couple of games on there that I was like, shit. It's like the Fallen Feathers game, that game's on there. There's another game on there. Like it's just it's tough not to see the value in it. And I think that we're getting to this place in the development world where people are like, well, hey, if you have a big following and you're a big game, Game Pass is not going to be for you. But if you're failing, or you're afraid that you're overstretching yourself, or you don't have an audience, then Game Pass can be a great place for you. Which is weird because like I don't want Game Pass to become that's what nobody wants, is Game Pass to be a place for failed or experimental games, right? It's your discount game bin. So I don't think anybody wants that. It's where it started. It's tried real hard to get away from that, but I don't know. I guess I still, no matter what, we just end up rambling about Game Pass. But I think a random sampling of games isn't necessarily a bad thing. We used to call those demos.
Okay. That's a good point. By the way, to make it says, during the PS1 2 days when pirating games was easy, I, quote unquote, sampled so many games that I never finished. Oh, man. And then I want to.
Yeah, but I'm actually curious. Were any of those like really good, like notably good games that you just like glazed over because you had a large sampling? Like, did you not finish BioShock because you had so many options, right? Or did you not finish, any other, did you not play Final Fantasy VII just because you had too much shit going on?
Yeah. But by the way, BioShock was a PS3 era game. Yes,
I know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember like what was back there. My sense of time is pretty garbage.
Yeah, Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy VII. You're right about those. Yeah.
Yeah, like did you lose? Do you feel like you missed out on not playing any really good experiences, or did you just kind of sample a lot until you found the good ones and then finish those? I'd be really curious to hear that answer.
He says, "Fuck yeah, I had shit like Resident Evil 4 that I never finished." And that's obviously.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, that's anecdotal, but that's still some fucking evidence. Like that's really interesting. I don't finish games a lot anyway because I kind of get bored.
I was about to say you don't do that anyway. And then more anecdotal stuff during the PS2 days. I've said this story before. Manny and I had a mutual friend that he was in probation, so he needed clean urine. I sold him my urine, and he would give me games, that he burned, and I finished all those motherfuckers. I didn't buy I bought them, but they were like what, like the price was my piss, so they're free, So Brett, that goes to your point. It's like also individual player behavior comes into it. I'm a completionist, you're not, so regardless, we're gonna behave the way we're gonna behave, right?
Yeah, I think that's it. I definitely think that it's had some effect on it, but I would really be interested to see some of the numbers. Like, okay, so like how long do they sample a lot of these games? Like, are we doing demo type behavior? Like, are we just going through and trying things and seeing what sticks, or are we just playing a little bit of everything but not sticking to anything? Yeah,
no, that would be good info to have, but unfortunately, this doesn't have it. Massive gaming regrets, says to make a. It's interesting, but no, that could be a danger where you just don't finish your games. But some people may not want to finish them. Torrance is another guy. He literally calls himself a sampler, and he's proud of it.
Well, I mean, we had Blockbuster back in the day. Like, I sampled games too back in the day.
Yeah, or you would do what I do: keep renting the same game until you beat it.
Actually, no. Okay, so
that's what I did. At least that's what I would do.
I actually had to do a cost-benefit analysis on games on how long I thought I would play them. versus the cost of getting them, because there wasn't like a discount that you got from
No.
like renting the game, right? So like you actually had to sit down, like also like I was like, all right, so I rented Final Fantasy 6 twice before I
Ooh.
was like, I gotta buy this shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that
I
happened.
just gotta buy this
Yeah.
shit because I'm just gonna keep renting this thing, and it's just not gonna. But like honestly, like I used to drop like $5 a week on Blockbuster game rentals.
Yeah.
Until I worked there, and then I got 5 free game rentals a week.
My man.
And honestly, that actually, come to think of it, had no bearing on my gameplay habits. Like I didn't finish less games. I just had more to play.
Yeah.
So like I went from like spending, all my free cash to getting 5 free, like I could just pick whatever 5 games I wanted to, and as long as they weren't a brand new release, fucking boom. And that was also basically the same thing end price as Game Pass. Like I think this model has existed in various forms pretty much my entire life. I just think that this is the newest iteration of it.
Yeah, like renting. I mean, that's what you're kind of doing with Game Pass, renting a game. Yeah, that's true. And even in some cases, you really are renting a game because they say, "May pull them," you know. But I want to move on to this next story because it's related. Our friend Shawn Layden, former head of PlayStation, he had some things to say about Game Pass, and they weren't kind. So the headline here is,
I imagine.
Yeah. The headline here is Xbox Game Pass style subscriptions are bad for the business and turn developers into wage slaves. That's what he had to say. So let's get into it. I'm reading this from IGN. Shawn Layden, former chairman of PlayStation Worldwide Studios, has blasted gaming subscription services such as Xbox Game Pass as bad for the video game industry and developers, who he said can end up turned into wage slaves. Speaking to Game Industry Biz, Layden criticized the impact of Xbox Game Pass becoming the, quote, Netflix of gaming by suggesting it had led to a new normal where paying for individual games has become less common at a time where big live services such as Roblox and Fortnite were already gobbling up attention spans and player spending, which we talked about before. Layden was also critical of the impact that launching a game into a subscription service had on its developers, with titles simply becoming content for the subscription catalog. So here's what he had to say. I'm not a big supporter of the Netflix of gaming idea. I think it is a danger. I mean, look at what happened to music. In the popular mind, music costs nothing. Music should be free. Spotify, what is that? That's $15 a month or something, but virtually nobody buys music anymore. So that's what he had to say. And then, more editorializing here. While not an exact comparison, Layden is suggesting that the ubiquity of music via streaming catalogs has devalued individual releases. But while the music industry can adapt to make up revenues from live concerts, the same cannot be said for video games, something that makes day one game launches via a subscription service, quote, bad for the business. So this is what he had to say. The problem with gaming is we all have is launch. That's not it. No one wants to pay money to come into the studio to watch people code. And then I'm going to read this other one. Is Game Pass profitable? Is Game Pass not profitable? What does that mean? That's not the right question to ask. You can do all kinds of financial jiggery pokery for any sort of corporate service to make it look profitable if you wanted to. You can take enough costs out and say that it's off balance sheet, or, oh, look, it's profitable now. The real issue for me is on things like Game Pass is it healthy for the developer? They're not creating value, putting it in the marketplace, hoping it explodes, and profit sharing on averages and all that nice stuff. It's just, you pay me X dollars an hour, I built you a game, here you go, put it out on your servers. I don't think it's really inspiring for game developers. Interesting stuff there.
It does coincide. It does coincide with what the guys who make Ori and the Blind Forest said. Yeah,
and a couple other developers as well.
And a couple of other developers have said so. I mean, that's the thing. Like, that's the slippery slope that everything slips into. The moment that these things become a service, the thing is that the moment services become a thing, the revenue doesn't make any sort of sense. Can you sustain that? Can you sustain the cost that it makes to make those games? If anything, I would see a subscription service being more more effective with smaller games. And I think that's also part of the initiative that Microsoft was trying to push when they said that stuff about Hi-Fi Rush. Well, how Hi-Fi Rush is the future. Games like Hi-Fi Rush are the future, smaller games that don't take a lot of money to make, because that's the only way it's going to work.
Yeah. And I do want to be fair. There have been some indie game studios that said being on Game Pass has helped them out a lot. So it's not like universal, you know?
But I mean, the thing is, we're talking about the guys who made Ori and the Blind Forest,
Yeah,
like the superstars. You notice that they haven't taken a Game Pass exclusive deal again. The guys who make Cuphead haven't taken a Game Pass exclusive deal. Yes, for them being the early guys to adopt this thing when Microsoft was looking for anything to fill up their service, yeah, it was great for them. But as even when all of this information came out, how Microsoft has changed the way they're evaluating these things. They're not given the big money anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
You know.
Also, I want to bring this up. There seems to be this kind of false belief that if you are on a, and this is for everything, not just video games, that if you're on a subscription service, that whatever the content is making a lot of money. That's not true. And I bring this up. This is a different medium, but it's still related with regard to the recent Superman movie, right? The movie is, people are like, oh, because let's just be honest. I wouldn't call it a super flop, but it's not going to break even, right? But people are saying, oh, when it comes to whatever service is coming to, it's going to start making a lot of money. No, it's not. No, it's not. This isn't like the old days, like with DVDs and shit.
The only way that film would start to make money is if it legitimately is pulling people in to get subscribe onto that to that service. If it's not doing any of that, it's not going to make any more money. It's only just all that the subscriber portion of it does is really sustain whatever is already there. So they're not going to make any more money.
If you own that service and the only movie that you watched that entire month was Superman, would you attribute the money paid that month for that service directly to the movie Superman?
That's a good question, because how do you gauge somebody's intent? You know what I mean?
Well, you could just take their engagement and divide it amongst their subscription, like what they watched.
Yeah, but let's just say, they weren't going to watch Superman, but they still paid money that month anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but then they watched Superman. And see, that's where it gets real murky, because then you could be like, well, yeah, they may not have watched anything last month, but if they didn't watch Superman, they may have canceled this month, because they would have been like, this is the second month where we didn't watch anything, So does that count as them keeping the subscription for Superman? What counts as keeping that subscription for Superman?
And that's why it's so the subscription stuff is so aggravating, because it's very hard to quantify,
Unless you go by engagement.
Yeah, but how I feel about engagement. So I can't go with that. It's too nebulous.
You even brought up, well, maybe I misinterpreted, but someone brought up a point. It's like there's all these zombie accounts where people don't even watch it or play anything, and it's like, where does that money go to? There's no engagement there.
A bunch of people that just left their account on. It's more like, it's like in a lot of cases, it seems like a lot of these services were just looking to get into that space where they just get money for free, because whoever hasn't just, that's if you think about it, that's kind of like like our PlayStation Plus, or whatever, to get online. A lot of, I haven't played PlayStation Plus and anything on PlayStation.
Okay, so that
online for a while now. So is it just my money's just going into the ether?
Okay, so that's a good point. So let's actually compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges. Okay, let's look back at the days that we were paying for cable, right? Paying $100 for cable, and what we got versus $100 versus of streaming services today, and what we get. I would bet dollars to donuts that we get more. I know for a fact I get more off $100 worth of streaming services content-wise than I did off of my cable subscription back in the day. I know that for a fact, even with HDR. Does anybody else want to challenge me on that one?
I'm not going to challenge you because that's obviously your experience.
Well, it is, you know what I mean. Does anybody else think otherwise? Do you think that you're getting less now than you were getting in the early 2000s?
For the same
me,
price? For me, it's I don't know if I can answer because I never got that much value from streaming services to begin with. I had Netflix, and like Carlos said,
did you get a lot of value from cable?
I way more value from cable than Netflix, but it's a me thing. But because I started checking out Netflix as soon as I was done with cable. You know what I mean? Because I had already kind of
get out of cable.
I found with Netflix. I felt like I got more when they allowed you.
Yeah, there was no.
They allowed you to do DVDs.
Yeah, but Brett, there was never. I'm sorry, man, because I want to answer what Brett. There was never an overlap with cable and Netflix to me. I stopped watching cable. I started checking out Netflix, and then that didn't give me any value either. You know, so I would
fraction of. Hold on.
No, Brett, just so you understand where I'm coming from. So I would be comparing my 2 years ish of Netflix versus like 30 years of me using cable. So it wouldn't be fair. You know what I mean?
Okay, you can figure it out in an average year. Okay, which would you prefer to have in an average year? A year of cable from 2002. Or 3 streaming services today?
Probably cable from 2002. Because because I would get my news, I would get VH1 Classic, all that cool metal stuff, all the TV shows. I used to watch a lot of fucking TV.
No.
You said 2002. You said 2002.
The package, not the shows, man. Actually, you know what? I'll even take some of the shows, right?
Because that's why you watch Netflix, right? For the shows.
Yeah. I will take that. Well, Netflix, Hulu, and whatever else the fuck that you want.
Yeah.
Or whatever 3 streaming services, because cable is the cost of 3 streaming services.
Yeah. So I think. Yeah, I probably go with cable because it just seems to give me more value and stuff. And I also like the
and you still watch commercials.
Oh yeah, and commercials too, because commercials were a lot better back then. You specifically said 2002, bro. So I'm looking at it from that standpoint.
No, I'm just like, bro.
Even the commercials, I'm like,
I'll pay $60. Huh? I know. I'm just shocked you'd rather I'm sitting there. I'm like, I would rather pay $60 a month to have 3 streaming services and no commercials. Because I feel like I get way more content out of them.
Yeah,
Brett, I'll use my example. Maybe it's not exactly Tony's, but maybe in a way.
Yeah, because this is Tony. I'm a weird guy, so you know how it is.
Well, for me, I mean, let's say it's 2002 cable, cable package that has all the channels that whatever Time Warner, whatever they use. Well, I get all the wrestling shows. I get WC Nitro.
There you go.
WCW Nitro.
I'm thinking about that
SmackDown.
too. Yeah.
I get Raw. I get the basketball games that come out on ESPN every Friday. I get the football games that come out on Sundays. I get TRL. I get the TNT movies that come out there. So there's no streaming service. There's no combination of streaming services today.
Yeah.
That could even get close to what that was, because if you today's date you have to do NBA League Pass, which is over $150 a year, and there's Netflix, and then there's Peacock that has some of the wrestling shows, and then you have to get whatever the hell
not included in basic cable though.
Yeah, everything that I mentioned is basic cable. It's TNT.
Yeah. Tony
ESPN.
never had. Tony.
I meant the sports packages, like all the wrestling and all that. That was all on basic.
That was on basic.
That was all on
yes.
basic.
Yeah. Manny used to come over to watch that, Monday night stuff, and I used to go to his place and stuff. And remember, you got to remember all the cool stuff that was on Cartoon Network at the time, like Justice League, Toonami. There was a lot of cool shit. Yeah.
You got Boomerang and all those other things. AMC and TCM were all also part of the basic.
Basic Boomerang was nothing but reruns.
Yeah, but that's still
Yeah,
value,
but-
you know.
Still value.
Yeah, it's still part of the
So is,
package.
so is Netflix.
Yeah, but again,
I mean,
I don't want to argue the whole what is better, cable or like streaming, because it's going to be dependent on the person. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to say you're wrong. You know what I'm saying, Brett? I don't want to say you're wrong.
Where I was going with this was, I don't think it has been as bad as this motherfucker makes it out to be. It is bad for him. It is bad for his business, but it is not
which
bad
business?
for,
He's not with PlayStation anymore. Just make that clear. He's not with PlayStation.
when he was with PlayStation, it was bad for his business.
Yeah, but Game Pass didn't just hurt PlayStation either. But I see what you're saying. I wonder what he's up to now, because wasn't he at some company that isn't anyway? Anyway, continue, Brett.
I think Game Pass is generally bad for a lot of big corporate companies, of which he runs with. Nowhere in there does he say it's bad for the customer. So it's bad for the developer, bad for the company.
Yeah.
And I don't even think it's really necessarily bad for the developer, because when you consider that, hey, we have a guaranteed windfall and we're not going to have to lay anybody off if this game doesn't succeed, it doesn't feel like the most terrible thing in the world, right? Like that's kind of the thing with the Game Pass, is you lock in mediocrity, right? Like it's the same with like the guy who made Squid Game, right? Like, is he thrilled that Squid Game season 1 was a huge success? Yes and no, because he didn't get paid a lot for it, because he didn't know it was going to be a huge success. But if it had been a bomb, he would have got paid the same amount. So he got a guaranteed amount. But the fact that it popped off and went viral means that if he had known that, he could have charged more for it. But nobody knew that. So that's one of those but that's, I hate to say it, but that's life. Like, we all have those moments if I would have known what I know now, of course. But especially if you're a struggling artist or a studio or a small studio putting something on the line where you are risking everything on a project, it would be great to know, hey, if we go viral, that would, we'd all be instant millionaires. And it's great to swing for the fences like that. But to put all of your money or all of your eggs in one basket and then have to close down your company and put people out of the job if your game doesn't hit seems to be not a great choice. Now, granted, that didn't really save a lot of people at Microsoft when Head started rolling.
I was about to say, Tango Gameworks, that didn't help them. They were on Game Pass,
I know this Tango Gameworks is the worst. That's the one I hate the most. A lot of people on that list, I think, were not producing. Tango was not one of those people. They deserve better than what they got. And I don't know whose dumb fucking idea that was. And I'm not saying that the other people who's working up there, they're not equally dumb, but I just am saying I think it is easy to get down on Game Pass, which is weird because it definitely does more for the developers than, say, Blockbuster or GameStop or any of the innumerable things that we used to do to cut developers out of their portion of the money, right? But this is the thing we get up in arms about. Like we used to pirate and rent and resell games, and then like that. Do you know how much that robbed from companies? Do you know how many companies that might have gone out of business because of that shit? And yet we stood there defending that to our dying fucking breath, and now we're gonna high road ourselves on Game Pass. I think it's morally inconsistent, is all, I guess.
Well, that's an interesting take. Brett, you got me fucked up right now. I'm like, man, I miss the old days, bro. I miss the days. I know there's not gaming right now. I miss the days where, hey, this is happening on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. We're all going to watch this. We got to set our schedules around it. It created I would actually call it more cultural cohesion, because now everybody's just in their silos. You know what I'm saying? Like you could literally have I know you agree. I'm preaching to the choir right now, but it's like
we had shared cultural moments.
Yeah, man. Like we don't have that anymore. You know, it's like now you can have an artist that has like 5 billion like followers that you've never heard of. You know,
bro. Actually, worse. I've heard it's changed. Okay, so it went from like everybody watched the end of Seinfeld together as a cultural phenomenon, and the thing that replaced that is whatever meme we're all making fun of this week, like the fucking cheating couple at the Coldplay concert. Right, like now it's gone from.
I'm reacting like this because you're so right. That's what replaced it. That's the cultural cohesion we have now. Oh my God! If this isn't another sign that we're witnessing, the decay of our society, I don't know what is, bro. It's crazy.
Like a dying star.
Listen, it happens to every society. This isn't the world is ending. It's just like this is our time.
Yep.
Civilizational collapse, witnessing right before your eyes, man. So you just gotta laugh. All right, so let's move on here. Speaking about disasters, actually not disaster. This is actually good. Battlefield 6. They had the beta last weekend, and everybody that played it was generally happy. So they're having another one this weekend. That's a good thing, you know. Metal
I like betas. I like demos. I like things that give people stuff for free and encourage people with good behavior instead of trying to trick them with bad behavior.
Yeah.
Good on you, Battlefield.
Yeah, so that's cool. But something interesting came out of it. Apparently, Battlefield 6 or EA in this case, was telling players that if you install Battlefield 6, you got to uninstall Valorant. Because I'll read this. This is from The Gamer. I know it's a trash website, but when they report straight news, they're fine. It's still early, but all signs are pointing toward Battlefield 6 being a massive success when it launches later in October. The game's ongoing. This was written during the beta, right? The game's ongoing open beta is the biggest in franchise history, and its success already has one former executive claiming it'll boot stomp this year's Call of Duty. No, it won't. Of course, with success comes cheaters, and EA has stopped over 330,000 attempts to cheat so far. Damn. In order to prevent cheating, Battlefield 6 makes use of proprietary anti-cheat software, except there's just one problem. It wants your sole undivided attention as a result. As first spotted on social media, Battlefield 6 is telling PC players that they need to uninstall Valorant, literally. As cheeky as some friendly competition between live service games would be, it actually has to do with the anti-cheat software that both games require. As it turns out, there's a conflict between the Javelin software that EA is requiring and the Riot Vanguard program that Riot Games uses for its titles. The end result is needing to decide between two games since both require secure boot and kernel level access. That's a lot of words to say that these programs aren't going to play nice with each other. Very interesting. Have we ever had a situation like this before?
Why would you need kernel access? That sounds like fucking trouble in a handbasket.
That sounds like something that kept Chris's flights from flying.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Remember when all the planes got
I remember that.
locked down because of that?
Oh, by the way, I'm going to read this. This is just one more paragraph. Fortunately, it appears that the issue is relegated to just Valorant for some reason. As one Reddit user noted that there is no conflict between the next entry in the Battlefield franchise and Genshin Impact and its anti-cheat requirements. Still, anti-cheat programs and the access it granted has long been a point of contention, blah, blah, blah. We know that. Yeah, very interesting stuff there. So, and then I asked this in the Discord. I'm like, is there much like overlap between Valorant players and Battlefield players? You know, I honestly don't know the answer because I don't play either game.
I almost feel like there isn't.
Yeah, because they're both first person games.
They're both
about it.
First person games,
Yeah.
but I think there's a little bit of a different headspace between the two.
Yeah, so that's why I'm wondering, like, how many people are affected by this? Is what I'm wondering. You know.
I would think, to be honest, I would say, I would think it would probably be like, a little under half.
Probably less. Way less than that.
It depends. depends on the crossover.
Yeah.
You know, with the crossover between them. I mean, not everybody who plays Valorant plays Call of Duty, and vice versa. Call of Duty would probably have there's probably more of a chance, I would think, the people playing Call of Duty than Call of Duty players being more Call of Duty players than there are Valorant players in comparison that cross over.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a problem for those gamers that play both, but I don't think it'll be that much of an issue in general.
Yeah. All right. What else do you guys think about this?
Yeah, I don't think there's probably much crossover. I think you know Battlefield is, I don't think it has that big of a fan base, you know, these days as compared to the previous times. So what they're garnering right now is crazy because that beta was really popular. So I'm pretty sure they're getting a lot of new fans these days. So I wonder what the crossover would be. But I feel like as of, you know, when Battlefield 6 was announced and when Valorant was, you know, at the top of their games, I'm pretty sure there wasn't that much crossover. I think there'd be more crossover between Call of Duty fan bases and Battlefield fan bases, but even then, that's still not. I wouldn't say that's significant.
Yeah, but still a very interesting problem. So I wonder if that'll keep happening with this weekend's beta. We shall see. All right, I want to talk about this next story, also EA related, and very retarded. Apparently, EA turned down a pitch for a Dragon Age trilogy remaster. You just had a bomb with the fucking Veilguard. These are games people actually want, but no, we're not going to remaster them.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it depends on what kind of remaster they're going to do. Are they going to do something like along the lines of Oblivion, or is it just going to be, you know, getting those games to run, you know, to run better on the modern consoles?
Yeah. So go ahead. Yeah. So this is from an interview with Mr. Matty Plays, a BioWare producer, Mac Dara, former Manny, because obviously all those guys are gone now. You know,
they are gone.
He goes, I mean, one of the things that we pitched at one point pretty softly, so pitch is a massive overstatement, was to retroactively rebrand the first 3 games as if they were a trilogy and call it the Champions Trilogy. So I think maybe you do that as a first step. Take those 3 games, or maybe Veilguard, don't do that. But you take those 3 games, you shine them up, you re-release them, probably remaster, probably not a remake. See what happens, and then maybe go from there. So it would be a remaster then. It wouldn't be like a full thing. He went on to point out EA's historical aversion to remasters as a reason, as well as the difficulty of doing the game. So it is what he has to say. EA's historically been, and I don't really know why, but they've even said this publicly, they're kind of against remasters. I don't really know why. It's strange for a publicly traded company to seem to be against free money, but they seem to be against it. So that's part of it. The other problem is that Dragon Age is just harder than Mass Effect to do. I'm thinking about it. Yeah, EA doesn't really do a lot of remasters, do they? Like they did Burnout. They did that years later. I didn't think about that. That's true. They don't really do that. Mass Effect, we did have a remaster years after the fact. But yeah, I still think that's an L. It's like, that's after Veilguard, you had to give people some hope, you know. But, you know, it is what it is, man. Crazy stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, what's up, Brett?
I'm having trouble. I'm just so EA couldn't. They just can't bring themselves to do something that Naughty Dog repeatedly does. Like EA can't.
Yeah.
That's like the devil being like, bro, too far.
Oh my God. Yeah, you're right. It's like, yeah, because Naughty Dog does this every other month, basically. So, yeah.
Right.
Dude, they literally re-released The Last of Us fucking chronological edition or whatever the fuck it was, you know? And yes, and yes, I know, because somebody's going to be in the comments. I know it's a free update, but still, God damn it. That's still work, you know? Go ahead, Brett.
I'm like, there has to be a reason that EA isn't doing this other than like they're like obviously it's not, you know, because of some moral high ground, but like if I hear EA be like, we just don't want to water down our brands, I would not stop laughing for 3 days. I would.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
I would be able to handle that shit. So I don't know. I really want to know why EA doesn't really like doing remasters.
I have to look into that because I never thought about it, but like, oh yeah, that's true. Anyway, let's move on here. So this one's fun. So we talked about that Tencent game called The Light of Moritram, which is basically ripping off of fucking Horizon Zero Dawn. It turns out, because remember, Sony was like, okay, we're probably gonna have to sue you guys. Or I think they did. No, they did. They did sue them over this shit. But now, if you go to the Steam page, it no longer looks like, or at least they're not pushing the Horizon aspects. Now they're showing a cute, cuddly animal or some shit like that in like a field instead of like, you know, the obviously Halo-looking girl and the fucking robots and shit. And apparently they've even changed.
They changed a bunch of stuff.
Oh, that's a lot. You know, Brett, it sounds like you're informed about this. So what did they change?
They changed character model, clothing, the I want to say like the font and logo.
Yes, they even changed the verbiage.
Like the verbiage of the description. Like they changed a lot, and honestly, I kind of feel like that should be enough. I know a lot of people are still saying no. This game should just. Like Horizon seems to be of the mindset of like, hey, this game just shouldn't exist. And I'm of the mindset of like, you don't hold a patent on fighting robot animals.
Okay. I think it's more about the aesthetic, because like they were even using the same colors. You know? They
kind of were, but I'm like, how many like I guess you could make them look like Transformers, but they do look like Transformers are kind of what we imagined robots would look like in the 80s, because that's what technology looked like in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like now, it looks kind of more like animals made of meta quests and AirPods.
I mean,
right? And like,
yeah, it was like white and shit. Yeah.
No, but I mean, I'm not giving these fuckers any fucking credit. They were taking advantage of a look to try to invoke that same sort of that sort of fan base or that sort of idea. Except, okay,
now it's supposed to give you the same vibe. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's like they should have known they were going to get their asses slapped with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
very blatant. Yeah.
It's a very blatant knockoff. It's like,
except it doesn't play the same. It's a melee game.
Well, so is Horizon.
No,
it's more of an arrow game, you know. Melee doesn't. She does, but melee is not the main.
Her melee attack is bullshit.
It is
cannot
ass.
Play the game using the melee.
Yeah, it is. It is. But the thing is, that's like, okay, so what you switch one aspect of it, and the rest of it is similar.
Manny. Generally, I agree with you. I think they were obviously ripping off, but I guess I was enough like, hey, this is not a melee, or this is a melee game. That's a shooting game.
This is more of a melee game than it is than the shooting game. We have multiplayer as opposed to not having multiplayer. It's like, no, guys, like, we get it. You're trying to do you're taking that same sort of aesthetic, the blue skies, the green things, the post-apocalyptic world, and saying, okay, but now we do something slightly different in there. It's like, no, why don't you just take
Brad, get in here, bro.
It's okay when Cyberpunk does it.
What do you mean?
When Cyberpunk does what?
When Cyberpunk steals a whole aesthetic, we're okay with that.
But it's called Cyberpunk.
There is no other game that looks like Cyberpunk.
No, but Brett, that's not fair. Remember, Cyberpunk is based off a game from the 80s, board game based off a genre. So that's not a fair comparison.
Yeah, but it took a lot of the aesthetics from Shadowrun, which was a game inspired by Cyberpunk that did make video games.
They're all taking shit from Blade Runner, you know, and Neuromancer and shit. Like this game is taking something from one specific thing, whereas Cyberpunk is taking inspiration from that genre itself. You know,
it's taking the inspiration of like the design of the animals, and that is the only thing.
But at no point would you ever confuse fucking Cyberpunk for Blade Runner or any other things. Yes, you do see those references. You see the flying cars. You see some of the cybernetics. You even see a couple of other things that they even make direct references to, like Roy Batty and a couple of things in there. But you don't look at Cyberpunk and say that looks like Blade Runner. In this situation, this is a blatant ripoff. It's like, hey, we're trying to look like Horizon Zero Dawn. Yeah. Just like how Power World was trying to look like fucking Pokemon, and they got slapped too. So no.
Yeah, and just like the same thing. Like I take Power World's side of that one too.
Yeah, interesting.
Sorry. Yeah. Look, if you wanted to have like I get it if you're upset that they made robot animals that kind of have your vibe.
I'm not upset. I'm
not done, dude.
Let him finish. Let him finish, bro.
Yeah, they ripped just as much from Monster Hunter as they did from this game. So why is nobody bitching about that?
Because it doesn't look like fucking Monster Hunter.
Yeah, it's the aesthetic, Brett, that they really ripped off. That's the real thing.
It's the real thing.
It's made to invoke that look. It's very obvious.
It has nothing to. Like their look. Okay, I get it. If you're trying to go down that road, but it's like, don't make it so obvious that we're going to be going there, and that's why you get slapped in the face for it. Listen, we can take these sort of genres, like, hey, we can hunt robot animals and beat the shit out of them. But listen, if you're just blatant, if you're blatantly looking to exactly to get that reaction, they obviously knew it and they got slapped for it. That's what happened.
Well, that's why they made all those changes. The fact they made all those changes lets you know right there. You know.
Yeah, they knew what they were fucking doing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, what are you gonna get? You're gonna get all butthurt that you got slapped in the face because you tried to fucking pull a fast one on everybody? No, you get slapped, and now you get to be more creative, right?
Oh man, I want to read this quick comment from Jeffrey. Reminds me of when Gameloft was knocking off AAA titles for mobile releases like Nova instead of Halo. Fucking mobile games are the worst when it comes to that shit, man.
Or remember that Uncharted game that came
shit, yes. It even had a similar name, you know? Yeah.
No, they were looking for that sort of idea, and obviously. That one didn't get that because it was such a low-hanging fruit. It killed itself. Nobody even bothered.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's again, like I remember seeing after Transformers came out in Blockbuster. Yes, those were those days.
Yeah, the days.
It Transmorphers the movie. Like, again, like I just like.
Go ahead. No, let him finish.
Is this new?
No, it's absolutely no. We're not. It's on you. We're talking about this specific thing, and even you admit it's blatantly trying to look like motherfucking Horizon, bro.
Oh no, it is. Know? It is, but also it's China. Like, did y'all expect any different?
Of course not. And no, obviously this is not the same thing. Remember Carnosaur, right when fucking Jurassic Park came out? Like, we've seen shit like this before. Obviously,
we've seen it before. But also when you look at the film Carnosaur, granted it does have dinosaurs in it, but you look at Carnosaur and you look at Jurassic Park, those don't look like the same film.
No, they don't. Yeah, this looks like it. But again,
am
I the only one that looked at this and didn't? I saw the similarities. I saw people talking about it. I immediately knew that it wasn't Horizon.
No, my first thought was like, holy shit, this is ripping off of Horizon. And everybody else had the same thought, you know?
Yeah.
But you didn't think it was Horizon.
No, I thought it was ripping off of Horizon, you know?
Yes. But again,
that might be enough to get you off in court because it feels legally distinct and you couldn't confuse them for each other. That's kind of one of the bases they use for.
No, here's the thing. I see what you're saying, but the fact that they changed everything lets you know they didn't want to get slapped. That's admission to me, you know?
Yeah.
And like you said, it's
Wait, admission
China.
to
This
what?
is China. That's what they do.
Admission to what? Copying? Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah,
you know.
no shit. I'm not saying that they did. Just be clear. I'm not saying they aren't copying. I'm saying we have been copying my entire lifetime, and now all of a sudden we're clutching pearls about this.
Oh no, we're not clutching pearls. We're just
in the last few years.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not clutching pearls.
Not just this.
Yeah, no, Brett, I'm calling this out because it's fucking funny. Like I'm not upset about this. I just find it fucking funny because it's like this is a blatant rip off of Horizon, and it's just hilarious. I'm like, are you guys really think you get away with this?
It's a Chinese bootleg, a tale as old of time.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before. Remember Those Who Remain, the fucking dolls that were inspired by The Last of Us? And what was the guy's name? Again, I just find this stuff hilarious. I'm not upset about it. It's just funny.
Well, no,
you know,
those who remain were obviously Last of Us. They only named it Those Who Remain so they get slapped in the face for making Last of Us figures.
Yeah,
they didn't call them. You know what I mean? So
and I mean,
that. Go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. My bad.
No, you good.
So we can all admit Power World was a blatant ripoff from Pokemon. Even though we hate Nintendo and all the stuff they do, it's like we know what they're doing.
Yeah,
I thought it was transformative enough.
I think Power World Power World is way more different from Pokemon than this shit is. Because when you look at a screenshot from Power World, you don't immediately think Pokemon. You're like, okay, that's kind of interesting. With this shit, you're like, okay, come on, bro. Yeah. Like you just took the whole fucking color palette, you know?
Tony, even the robot dinosaurs, you know, like in Horizon, they have those weak spots, the little canister things on the top of their bodies.
Yeah.
This game has it too.
That's funny, man. Yeah, they even knew what they were doing. But yeah, no, this story is just funny to me. But yeah, they didn't want to get sued, so they changed shit. Not surprised.
Yeah, okay.
You know, there you go. That's admission to me.
To be honest, it's like, you know, why that in general, it got them to be a lot more creative with this thing than just saying, hey, look, we made a redheaded girl that goes and beats up on robots and
in a post-apocalyptic world.
In a post-apocalyptic world with the overgrown cities and, you know,
tribal people and
tribal people, you know,
robots with white, you know, armor. Yeah,
robots with white aesthetics. Yeah,
Manny, you say you know, hopefully it made them, you know, be more creative.
I don't think so.
Hopefully they don't just use AI for that stuff.
You know,
if they aren't already. You know, that's a good point. Already, they could have just said, "Hey, make something close to this." All right, boom. It's not it.
It's funny, man. All right, man. Let's move on here. Control 2 is apparently in development, which is kind of cool. This. Yeah. So this was from a recent report. So here are the things that are listed. If I could load this, Control 2 development is on track towards meeting its next milestones. Focus is now on gameplay, environments, and missions. What the hell were you focusing on before? Like, I guess the story.
Plot and story.
Colors.
Colors.
Plot story concepts. That's probably what they're doing now. They're actually building. They're probably gray boxing things right now.
Yeah.
You know.
And then other things. The Max Payne 1 and 2 remake project continues its progress and remains in full production. That's cool.
This sounds like a full-on remake.
It's full. Yeah.
No, they're doing a full-on remake of that. Of those two games.
Nice.
Control lifetime sales reached 5 million. Good, congratulations. And Firebreak. Firebreak, the Control online game.
Yeah.
Firebreak launch succeeded technically, but commercially, the company was unsatisfied with the launch phase. Yeah, they weren't happy with the sales, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it didn't do amazingly. I think they signed a deal with PlayStation as well to do a PlayStation Plus release for that, I think.
Yeah.
To be honest, like you look at Firebreak, there's nothing really about it that sort of says anything, and especially this is just also the second time that Remedy sort of dipped into the multiplayer realm. There was that other game a while ago that they sort of attempted to do that too. So, I mean, I'm sure maybe the gameplay is kind of fun, but to be honest, what was this? A squad shooter? Is that what this is?
Oh, was it an extraction shooter? I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, it's like an extraction shooter where you shoot up a bunch of things and then eventually you get out. I don't know. There's a bunch of other guys that do it. Hopefully they didn't spend so much money on this thing that where it killed them.
Yeah,
that's what I'm hoping. Like, if this was a smaller project, 5 million. I mean, even for Control, like, I think Control seemed like a medium level project. It did not seem like they were hugely invested. It did not seem like a rush job. It just kind of seemed like, it just it's AA effort, and for AA effort, you got 5 million copies. That's pretty good.
I think that I think Control in general. Control is probably their best. The game that's
it is.
The best
It is their best selling game. Yeah,
it's their best selling game. I think I definitely feel that like a game like Alan Wake didn't do as amazing.
No, it
as
didn't.
They sort of thought they were.
Really?
Yeah, no, it didn't.
Yeah, Alan Wake 2 didn't do amazingly, even though it was all over the damn place. But again, it's not they don't make games. They don't make games that everybody is going to enjoy. I feel like Control is probably the most straightforwardy type of game they've done since Max Payne, and that's why I think they took Max Payne, remake, because they needed a real shot in the arm for their studio, as opposed to these sort of like, hey, we spent a decent amount of money, didn't do amazingly, type of deal.
Yeah. So yeah, Control 2 is coming. Max Payne remakes, kind of cool. So we'll see what happens with that. All right.
I feel like when it comes to the last Alan Wake, they were sort of preparing themselves for the Max Payne remake, because there's a lot of assets in the second Alan Wake game that lend themselves really well to a Max Payne remake. Just re-arting environments and things. So
Yeah. Brett, you had something to say about Max Payne?
Oh, I was just agreeing with Manny and saying that'd be really smart. Asset creation is a huge part of.
There's literally one part of Alan Wake 2 that takes place in a city that looks like New York and has all the different things that you would find there, like subways and overpasses and buildings and all that sort of stuff. So I definitely think that they were probably looking at ways that they could utilize whatever assets that they had created for Alan Wake, besides not the forest stuff but really the city stuff that takes place in the dark place.
Yeah, so good stuff there. And the last story here, I threw this in for myself because I love me some Virtua Fighter. So Eurogamer recently did an interview with one of the developers, and this is something kind of interesting. They were saying how the older executives over at Sega are very, very happy that this game is like finally in development, which makes me question, why didn't you try to green light it beforehand, bro? Like apparently one of the higher up executives, apparently at meetings, he doesn't really talk much, but every time they bring up Virtua Fighter, he gets animated, starts talking about it. But it gives me hope that the company will really push this game hard. Because again, it's when fucking, when was Virtua Fighter 5 again? Like 2008, 2006? Like it's been a long time. So I'm very excited about this, and fingers crossed that we already know we're gonna get more at Tokyo Game Show. They already said that, but it would be nice if we get something at Gamescom. But it seems like Sega's just kind of drip feeding us right now, a couple of things here and there. But bro, I've seen that the last demo like a billion times, you know. And there were some people saying like, "Oh, that's fake" and stuff. Like, dude, they literally have clipping in there. That's actual gameplay, you know, or like characters snapping into place when you punch them and stuff. Like you know that works mechanically, but doesn't look as good if it was CG. But no, it's very, you know, makes me very happy to see that the higher ups are like excited about it, and even some of the younger guys, like, because I'd never played Virtua Fighter, like, oh, this is dope, you know. It's gonna be great, man. I can't wait. And the last thing, I don't have this in the show notes, but I'll throw it in here because I'm seeing it on Twitter. Also related to Sega. Brett, it's the 36th anniversary of the Sega Genesis, man.
Oh,
What a great system that was, man. What a great
that was.
Yeah, today I was listening to the Streets of Rage 2 soundtrack. So good, so good. You know, Genesis. And here's the thing: obviously, people just think about like, oh yeah, Genesis lost to Super Nintendo, but for many years, it was actually beating Super Nintendo in America because it was the cheaper console, it was the cooler console, and all that.
Yeah,
that was a real. As you motherfuckers, you know, we talk about the console war. You know, like that was a console war back then. You know, it forced Nintendo at the end to be like, okay, we got to get hip and with it too. You know, at the end when they brought out Donkey Kong and all this other stuff, that was a true console war. And Genesis was fantastic, man. Like a lot of those games, I've been replaying a bunch on the, ironically enough, on the Nintendo Online service, and it's just like, man, these games always hold up. You know, Sonic, Streets of Rage, Shinobi, wink, wink for that one. Lots of good stuff there, man. The Sega Channel, Brett, you know, that good jazz.
Also, for a while there, wasn't Sega Genesis competing with the NES?
For a little bit, yes.
No.
It wasn't competing. It was, because remember, Sega Genesis came out in 1989, right? This was 2 years before the Super Nintendo. So the whole Genesis Super Nintendo was during that time. So it was. Yeah. But Nintendo, the NES was such a fucking monster. The Genesis just didn't make any traction. And to be fair to Genesis, even though the games were fun at that point, they were just like arcade ports. So it didn't really.
Like
it was
Altered Beast and that stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't until they released Sonic right around right before the Super Nintendo came out that they really reinvigorated themselves. But yeah, it did try to compete with the NES because they were like, we got 16 bits, they got 8. You know. But I like that. That's what I like about Sega. They're a scrappy fucking like company. You know.
Was it that back when they had the yellow tabs on the cartridges? Or was that was a different manufacturer?
EA. Yeah, EA's Sega cartridges had that, and Manny, was that to distinguish them from other cartridges? I believe, right?
No, they reverse engineered the Sega Genesis cartridge. That's what those were.
Yeah, they did that. Yeah, Sega wasn't happy, but because basically, I don't remember the details. It was in the book. I always mentioned the console wars, but yeah, like I think Sega, and I could be kind of wrong about this, didn't want to work with them initially, and then EA just reverse engineered them and shit. But I do remember, they kept that tab there just to make their games look different than other games. You know, and obviously EA games were very, very big on the Genesis. Genesis was, big on sports games and stuff.
Also, literally, they were like an inch taller.
They were bigger. You know, Trip Hawkins, man, that guy was a character.
Mr. 3DO. He literally went in there and said, "Hey." He's like, we don't want to fucking pay them for this shit. Here, reverse engineer this.
That was EA when they were scrappy too. You know, not this monstrosity we have now that isn't green. Yeah, go ahead.
Tencent did the same thing. You know, not Tencent. Tengen.
Tengen
did the same thing with the Nintendo cartridge, where they literally reverse engineered it, but they got caught red-handed because they were actually using stuff from the original cartridge instead of making new things.
Oh, shit. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, EA just started selling the games. It's crazy stuff, man.
They just started selling them. They're just like, all right, whatever. We're doing it.
And then obviously, the Genesis modular system, one of the first ones, you could, the first one was the Sega CD, and then eventually you had the 32X.
Oh, the Voltron.
The Tower of Power. Tower of Power,
No,
man.
but just like anything, like that 32X is what
That-
also fucked them over.
Oh yeah, big time fucked them over. And Sega of America reluctantly got pushed into making that thing. They didn't want to, like, this. Why are we doing this? We have a Saturn coming out. But Japanese side felt they needed to have something. And what's interesting is for the first few years when Sega of Japan let Sega of America do its thing, the company was just doing great. But eventually, and this is detailed in the book, Sega of Japan got jealous of their success, because the executive, over in Japan would yell at the Japanese side, how come you're not doing as good as the American side? They didn't think like, hey, we're all in this together, because, that xenophobia and shit came to bite them in the ass, which is stupid. And then they started just putting more and more regulations and stuff on Tom Kalinske, whereas that before, it's interesting because they went to him like, help us revive, or not revive, just bring Sega to prominence. He did that. Then they started putting all this bullshit on him, all these stipulations, and then he eventually left.
Yeah, well, that's they wanted to be the ones getting the credit to getting to do this. It's like, no, you guys have to hire people that understand the market that you're going toward.
The thing is, they did for a while. That's the crazy part. They did let them do for a while, and it was working, and then they said, no. Like, for example, one of the biggest fucking mistakes they made, so Tom Kalinske, after the whole thing blew up with Nintendo and PlayStation, right, and Sony, Tom Kalinske hit up Sony. He's like, hey, why don't you work with Sega, right? And then it was basically, oh my God, why am I forgetting his name? The father of PlayStation. Anyway, so the guy who created the PlayStation, he just wanted a 3D machine, right? Whereas Sega wanted a 2D machine. They couldn't reconcile their differences, so that partnership got dissolved, right, before it even started. Then Silicon Graphics came to Sega. They're like, hey, we got this awesome chip that'll be really good for a video game console. We should work together, right? That fell through as well because of Sega Japan. And guess what Silicon Graphics did? They went to go work with Nintendo for the N64.
Nintendo.
So we could have literally had a Sega PlayStation or a Saturn with a beefier, more robust 3D graphics chip. None of that happened because of the jealousy of the Japanese side. It's very frustrating when you read that book. But obviously the Genesis will go down in history as one of the greatest consoles of all time. Lots of really good stuff. Yes, it was technically inferior to the Super Nintendo in some ways, but in some ways it was still better. The fucking blast processing was bullshit, but it still ran faster in some cases.
Yes, it was still able. It was the blast processor didn't exist, but their machinery was able to push things through faster than the original Super Nintendo. And in fact, that's part of the reason why there were a lot of alternate versions of games, because they couldn't in general port over whatever they did for their Genesis, which ended up looking different. So
that was the other thing about that time in history. It's like you would have, for example, Aladdin made by two different developers. It's the same franchise, two different developers. For the Super Nintendo, it was Capcom. Shinji Mikami worked on that one. And then it was Disney, right? And that they worked on the Genesis one.
Virgin. Disney and Virgin.
Yeah, Disney and Virgin.
That had the rights to that.
Yeah, so you get different ports and stuff. Then obviously remember the big one, Mortal Kombat on Genesis had the blood, whereas Super Nintendo didn't. But Super Nintendo looked a little bit better. Actually, looked a lot better. Looked a lot better.
Yeah, it had nicer sprites, but they didn't want any of the blood. But also the Genesis didn't have the blood either.
You had to put the code in. Yeah. But then obviously by Mortal Kombat 2, Nintendo was like, "Fuck it, put the blood on there."
Yeah.
So yeah, good times, man. Genesis is awesome. If you guys are watching on YouTube, let us know what you thought of the Genesis, man. It's good stuff.
Yep.
All right, man. So wrapping up here, Manny, what you got, man?
Well, coming in a week or less, or a little over a week, MGS Con on the 23rd of August. I'll have this book, which is Solid Zero Subsistence, is a reprint of my old book from 10 years ago, or maybe 5 years ago. From a few years ago. Resurrected it. I actually retired it in 2020 when I had this really cool like tape edition and all that stuff. But anyway, for the con, I resurrected the book again. It's all back to the way it was, a little bit bigger than the last version. Has a nice little belly band that says MGS Con exclusive on the bottom, and also it has a fun little barcodes on the back to make it all new and fancy. So that is going to be with me at my table. I'm also going to have T-shirts, and I'm also going to have prints, which I have been advertising on my Twitter and Instagram. If there's any of these left, just remember that Metal Gear Solid Delta or Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta is coming out very soon. So
Yes.
maybe there might be a Solid Zero edition for you guys that we might be giving away of that. Secondly,
Oh, Manny, where's that taking place again? Just to remind the people.
it's going to be in Ontario, California, not Canada, California. This is Northern California, a nice area. They have the convention center over there, and it's right next to the airport. So if you're going to end up over there, it's really easy to get to. Secondly, Power Rangers Prime #9, which I'm holding up right now, which is my special cover.
Nice.
No cover dressing on it, so it's all purely my art. That's actually out right now. This one's a little bit difficult to find. It's I think a 1 out of 20 or something like that, which means it looks like for every 20 books, this one will appear. So yeah, that's good luck finding it. I wish they wouldn't do things like that where they literally create these sort of exclusivity things, but I'm not in control of that. But yeah, that's out on the streets right now. Also, which is going to be coming out in October, is TMNT Journeys #2, which has a cover by Kari Randolph and myself. We just had did we just have an announcement of something that just came up soon recently? Let me look back a little bit. I know we just announced something. They just announced something. What is it? Blah, blah, blah. Oh yes, sorry. Power Rangers crossover with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So Kari and I did another cover for this. Is the third crossover between Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers. So that's going to be coming out real soon. It's going to be coming out 9/24. So that's going to be out then. So yeah, lots of. I keep saying this, but the nostalgia tour continues. I don't know what it is about this year, but literally every single property that Kari and I have worked on is all a nostalgia property. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Power Rangers, Street Sharks, Biker Mice from Mars. They're really scraping the barrel all the nostalgia. I don't, Well, I see SWAT Cats that just is getting a revival.
There
too,
you go.
And who knows? Cowboys from friggin' Moo Mesa and Toxic Crusaders is also getting a revival right with the game, and then they're also putting out the whole series again. I'm sure there's going to be a comic book. So yeah, a lot of fun stuff. So if you're going to be at MGS Con, stop by my table. I was invited as a special guest, and get all talk and nerd out about Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah. I also heard a rumor that you're going to be working on a revival of Denver, the Last Dinosaur. Why not? Rich, what's coming up on the Coalition this weekend?
Oh, yeah. Well, first and foremost, shout out to Adam in the TV terminal. Yes, there were about 3 shows they're reviewing right now: Revival, Dexter Resurrection, and Chief of War. That is not to be confused with God of War.
Yes.
Definitely check out those reviews. They will be posted. As for the Coalition, Carlos's favorite show in the world, I Am Negan, will be returning next month. So we will be covering the Daryl Dixon show. Stay tuned for that. Yes, the nuke. Stay tuned for that in September. And lastly, but certainly not least, I've been working on some Gamescom related videos. I actually have one of them dropping tomorrow. So definitely stay tuned to the website. Check that out. I talk about a couple of things I think are going to get announced or rather revealed in terms of release dates at Gamescom. And Gamescom is next week, so I'm sure we will have a lot to talk about next week. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Also, real quick, I want to give a couple of shout outs. I want to give a shout out to my boy Kells, Dunks for Life. Now, you guys have you guys have probably seen him in the Discord, but he's old school. He worked with some of us at SCFU and Play. He was like one of our main news guys, and he has brought that talent to the Discord, posting all types of news. So and obviously Rich knows Kells as well, so he's a big fan of the coalition. So shout out to him. I'm glad to have him around. A really good guy. And I also want to give a shout out to the Iron Lords. I cannot talk about where I met them today, but I ran into them at an event in the city, and it's always good seeing those guys. And apparently, I just missed seeing Hip Hop Gamer this morning. He was at the event before I was. And the developers I talked to were, they were very happy with Hip Hop Gamer. They're like, oh man, it's some crazy stuff. So I'll be able to tell you about, what I saw today, or this week, I should say, soon. So stay tuned for that. And I think we're going to start wrapping it up here, man, for another episode of Throwdown. So make sure you follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, join the Discord where Kells and Mob Hits and all the others will hit you up with all that cool news. And, of course, follow us on your favorite podcast app. Links to everything down below. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you next time.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
Brett Murdoch.
Who's those people?
There he is. And Richard Bailey Jr.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
All right, guys, we'll see you on Sunday.